This week in movies, we are going to talk about the latest from Hayao Miyazaki.
Hayao
Miyazaki. Ponyo. So
semi-planned. That seemed like it was maybe planned. It was not planned.
Miyazaki is one of those. No, just it's okay. We'll get to you.
No,
Miyazaki is one of those directors that is a world-renowned director.
Yes.
They've recently been releasing his movies in America.
Yes.
Starting with Miramax was doing it with Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, House Moving Castle. I believe Spirited Away was nominated for an Academy Award.
I believe it was.
And now Disney is putting out Ponyo. So what's interesting of the movie I just referenced, they all seem to have analogs to movies we grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
Princess Mononoke is very never-ending story. Spirited Away, very Alice in Wonderland.
Oh.
And now Ponyo is very E.T. Or E.T. Or Little Mermaid. Or Splash.
I thought it was Little Mermaid, yeah.
It's definitely a fish out of water story. A goldfish played by
Ponyo.
A goldfish named Ponyo. It takes place in this fictitious settlement in Japan where there's magic.
It's like a Japanese fishing town.
A Japanese fishing town.
I don't think there's magic in the fishing town.
Well, there's magic in the ocean, and that's where Ponyo, the goldfish, comes from. And then she becomes a real boy, a real girl, and befriends a young Japanese.
How is any of this like E.T.?
Boy?
No,
it's Little Mermaid.
It's called Pinocchio.
Because, I mean, it's very E.T., but because he befriends an alien, and she learns about humanity and being human, and he learns about
and eating.
Yeah, right. And that's Ponyo.
Ponyo.
Jeff, what did you think of Ponyo?
Well,
it is an animated film. It is a 2D hand-drawn animated movie. And Disney is making the big push with Princess and the Frog to return to that, and this I think is sort of a part of their returning to embracing 2D animation by embracing a filmmaker who's been making 2D films for the last 20 years.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I've seen several of his previous movies, and it's hard not to be a fan of just the art of these films. His movies are so imaginative visually that they're stimulating and entertaining and just awe-inspiring to watch. Unfortunately, a lot of them aren't as impressive from a narrative point of view, and I think this falls into that category for me. It's interesting. He sort of lives at the intersection between adorable and creepy, you know. And this movie is that. It's weird from a storytelling perspective because there's really no bad guy. There's no antagonist. And there's no reason for most of the movie to happen.
I would argue there's an antagonist.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Whatever.
It's actually the same kind of antagonist from E.T. So.
The government?
A
No, the person
with
you think
flashlight
is
shotguns.
Well,
anyway, it's beautiful, and the artistry of the drawings are really impressive, and the imagination at work is absolutely worth seeing. But from a story perspective, I was a little bit bored, and I mean, it's kind of the story of one woman's quest to be the world's worst parent.
True. And maybe succeeds. No, I'm just kidding. I sort of had a little bit of the same thing. I think of all of the Miyazaki films, in my opinion, this is sort of the most followable, if that makes sense.
I agree.
It seems the most sort of
accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Accessible, yeah, to me.
It's set in a
contemporary town.
Right.
But also, it doesn't go to such a weird place. It's like weird stuff is happening on this to these normal people, which I mean, I know a lot of that is like Spirited Away, it's like the family
because I don't want to interrupt, but maybe because it could be of all his movies, this could be a live action film.
Yeah, well, and that's
but has been
right. But that said, I will sort of agree with Jeff. I think this one, because of the joy that I get out of a lot of Miyazaki stuff, is sort of figuring out what the hell is actually happening. Like, what is going on with the weird pig face boy? You know what I mean? Like, why is he doing that weird thing? So you're really engaged. With this, it was like, Okay, all right. It was more sort of passive than most of my Miyazaki experiences are. But I think overall, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's sort of fantastical and fun. I thought the voice acting was really good, and you know, the visuals are unbelievable.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. I may have liked it a little bit more than you. I tend to feel all of his movies are very preachy, and they all preach the exact same message, generally about the environment.
Yeah, there was like one line right at the beginning that was like humans and their dirt in the ocean.
Like they are all.
It's like,
Princess
that was
Mononoke
pretty.
is that. Castle in the Sky is like that, which is my favorite of his films, and you know, so. But I loved how this movie looked, and it had this great, unique art style in that part of it felt like an illustration of a children's book, and then part of it felt like animation, modern animation. But there were parts that were like shorthand for drawing, like a book, and a bush was like you could see the pencil swirls in the bush. But some of it was amazing. And what I love is that there were so many moments that felt so there were head nods, like, oh, that's so true. I know that behavior. And that's not. It was so much more remarkable in this because that was achieved by someone
scribbling,
completely manufacturing that. From a pencil and paper, he was able to achieve a demeanor that was so human. And it's different than an algorithm. I mean, and I don't want to take anything away from computer animation and 3D animation.
Especially before we talk about what we're going to talk about next.
Motion capture is not that, and B, but using numbers and having your model and then animating is still very difficult, and it's amazing that can be so human-like as well. But it's not a pencil and paper, and I find that so amazing. There were so many moments in here that felt so like,
well, and he was able
that's such a little kid. Little kids do that or move that way.
Ponyo herself was so captivating. I mean, even just watching her experience the human world for the first time, I even think I had a better connection to that than I did with E.T. Because it was fun. Like with E.T., I remember it being fun, like, oh, the microwave's scaring him, this is so fun and cute. But the things that Ponyo finds joy in my opinion, were just so captivating.
Yeah, that part where she's running around and running up on the couch.
On the stuff, and when they're making the noodles.
I want to say too, the score was phenomenal, and it was like it was
very
the
classical.
score was like classical music.
Like violins and cellos.
Exactly, and like for real, like beautiful. Okay,